Okay, we're live. Okay, let me see. Yeah. Good morning, good morning, good morning. And how are you guys doing this rainy Saturday morning on St. Croix? Um, it's super rainy. I don't know. Guys, it is Saturday. Typically, let me tell y'all something. Hold on. I just need to figure something out. Um, because I have family members that has watch my show and they does rough me up a little bit, and ain't nothing like your own. It'll be your own. It'll be your own. Hi guys, if you guys are tuning in, you're at 9:70 a.m. on your radio dial or at wstxradio.com. And I am Jamila Russell. I'm your host. And yeah, it's my show. It's called Just Jamila. And I talk about what I want to talk about until you call to change the subject. And I don't know, typically I don't have, well, let's see if anybody notices. So I'm missing something this morning. And of course, if I say it now, everybody gonna look to see what I'm missing, right? Y'all can figure it out. If I'm missing it, y'all could tell me what is it that Jamila is missing. I'm missing something. But that's what happens when you're rushing to try to get up the road before the rain and all of that good stuff. Because it's raining on St. Croix this morning. And I don't like it to be raining like this. And I have on the glasses that I didn't want to wear, but it's okay. We good. We're all good. There's lots of things going on, but before I start talking and delving into all of the things that, oh Jesus, really? What? Why is it telling me cancel? I'm me. Oh Lord. Okay, so I'm trying to log into Facebook to see. You see, y'all think I'd be joking, right? I don't. I'm trying to log into Facebook and it needs my password, and of course I don't know my password. Oh Jesus! I have to call. Oh, I have to get one of my many people who have my Facebook passwords to text them. Um, Send me my Facebook password, please. Let me send my cousin a text. Okay. Facebook password. Okay, so hopefully my cousin will send me my Facebook password so I can log in and I can see. I don't know my Facebook password. Oh wait, I think she sent me my Facebook password like 2 weeks ago. Hold on a second. Oh Lord. How is it that I don't know my Facebook password? Aha, look at that. Hold on. Hold on. I think this is it. Hold on. Let's see. My Facebook password. Let's see. Wait. Let's see. Let me see. Cross your fingers. Ha! Okay, it worked. Okay, so apparently, let me just tell y'all what's happening. Apparently, your Apple iPad to allow you to use like your screen thing to log in. That's a good thing. All right. So, okay. So good morning to everybody who's listening. We're all set. My Facebook is I can see I think I can see some of your comments so that we can continue. So good morning. My hair looks well this morning. This is not good behaving hair weather. So you're going to have to excuse me because ain't behaving so good. Good morning, Kia George, and good morning to everybody who's listening via Facebook. I want to start out by saying happy birthday. 2 birthdays that I can remember this week. And one of them, if y'all know Diane Alec, y'all have heard me talk about D up here. If y'all know Diane Alec, y'all know that she has one solitary sibling and that she loves her sibling to the moon and back. She loves her like pig love mud, like how I love food. She just loves her sister. So y'all, and if you know Diane, that means you know her sister Merle. We want to send happiest of birthday wishes to Merle Alec. She's celebrating her birthday. And of course, that is coming from her beloved sister, Diane, and everybody who loves Merle, myself included. We want to wish her a extremely happy birthday week, birthday month, and just all of God's continued riches and blessings. So if y'all see Maul out this weekend, wish her a very, very happy birthday. All right. So before the end of this show, I just want y'all to know, because of the weather in here, my hair is going to look like a mini afro. I'm gonna look like a chia pet, but it's fine. It's gonna be good. And so I just, if I can't find one of them things to hold your hair in the back of your head, the rubber band thing, but I gonna get one. So if y'all see Diane out this weekend, you'll probably see her with Merle. Just wish Merle a very, very happy birthday. And if you see Merle without Diane, just tell them that, you know, you heard it's her birthday week, her birthday, and you want to wish her a blessed and happy birthday. All right. So you can't know Diane Alec and don't know Merle. So happy birthday to Merle Alec. All right. That out of the way. I also want to say happy 21st birthday to, well, now he's a man because he's 21, to you know, a little boy who, well, he's a young man now, right? But he stole my heart 21 years ago. Nikai, I love you. You have developed into such a warm, kind, loving young man. You're such an awesome big brother. You're a wonderful son to Nicole, and he loves you to the moon and back. And I just know that you're going to continue to be a positive role model for your siblings and just a good human. I love you, bad. So if y'all see Nikai, wish him a very happy birthday. And for those of you who are, you know, older, is that kid that walks around looking like Almanzo. He looks just like his dad, who was sadly taken away from us. But, you know, he left us 4 beautiful children that each of them remind me so much of him in so many ways. So I want to say happiest of birthday to Nikai and to everybody else. All right. So, oh, thanks for asking, Cheryl Charles. I'm okay, you know. I can't complain. You know, I really can't complain. You know, it don't make any sense to. Nobody listens when you complain. All right. So I want to, there's a lot of things that we need to delve into, things that happened this week, things that's happening in the news, all sorts of stuff. But I want to start with a story that I talked about last week, with people respecting our culture, respecting our laws, coming here and you know, wanting to do what they want to do. I want to thank the Historic Preservation Commission. I'm talking about Attorney Trudy Finster. Last week, I read a story. I got it from the newsfeed at WTJX.org, and they did a follow-up story. And the Historic Preservation Commission, the Historic Preservation Commission ordered Trudy Finster to remove the unauthorized bricks blocks and the planter in Christiansted. So I really, you know, I'm so glad that they told her that she needs to remove them. I'm going to read the story. It says that during a meeting today, the St. Croix Historic Preservation Committee directed attorney and property owner Trudy Finster to remove brick cinder blocks and a concrete planter installed without approval along a sidewalk and stairway in downtown Christiansted's historic district. The action followed unauthorized construction along the sidewalk in front of Finster's building at the corner of Custom and Church Streets. She has to remove any kind of blockage that was put up there, Colette Woodson Burgess, committee chair, told WTJX after the meeting. Finster, who participated in today's virtual meeting with committee members, must remove bricks enclosing half of the stairway, a concrete planter supported by cinder blocks beneath the building arches, and other cinder blocks installed along the sidewalk under 2 additional arches and on top of the bricks obstructing the stairs. Burgess said Finster may still place planters in the area, but not like the concrete one in place now. Any future planters must be freestanding, removable, and approved by the commission. She can place some kind of planters there, but not on those blocks like she has it now, Burgess said. She has to come back to us to show us what she is proposing to put there. Planters, not blocks, something that can be removed, maybe large decorative pots that look nice. The committee also made clear that the stairway along Church Street cannot be blocked in any way. The construction drew complaints from community members concerned about the alterations within the historic district. Burgess previously told WTJX that the commission would have worked with Finster earlier in the process and could have offered alternatives if the proper application had been submitted before construction began. She could have come to us and we would have given her other options to close off that space, but not those things there. They have absolutely nothing to do with the visual appeal of that building. During today's meeting, Burgess said Finster raised concerns about irregularities in the building's historic Danish brick steps. Burgess said those features are common in older structures and can be addressed with signage rather than structural changes. I told her several buildings have those irregular Danish brick steps. People who feel it might be a problem, put up a sign, caution, old building stairs irregular, please watch your steps. Finster also agreed to install signage encouraging use of the handrail. And the radio, dude. Finster also agreed to install signage encouraging use of the handrail. According to Burgess, Finster said she would comply with the commission's directives and begin removing the unauthorized materials immediately. No formal deadline was issued. She said she would abide by whatever we had her do, Burgess said. Okay, so I'm glad that they did that, but again, we need accountability. You don't go halfway down the road. While I applaud that they told her to remove it and she agreed, she could want to remove it in 2030. No, you have to give them a timeline to remove it. So I'm hoping that when you send her the formal correspondence, that you give her a time certain to have those items removed. Because for all we know, she could remove a half a brick today, a half a brick next week. Come on, you have to have some level of accountability. And that's the problem with so many of these government agencies, just with everybody. Nobody's held accountable. If you need to remove it, remove it. Give them a time certain to have it be gone, and let's just be done with it. Let's not drag it out, you know? So I need to say that. So I'm glad that Attorney Finster has come to her senses and has decided that she needs to follow our laws. And that's what we need. If you're coming to our place and you're buying something, find out. You know, so often people come here, they buy residential land, and then they want to build, give me something they don't want to build on residential land, something that's not a residence, you know? And then they want zoning changes, or they buy property in the historic district and they feel like they could just tear it down and not at least put back up the facade that makes it look like it's historic. Because you can make it look like it's historic outside and inside is completely modernized, which is what a lot of people do. And so we need for people to comply with our laws, and for all of those Virgin Islanders who don't understand the impact of retaining your history and your culture. It's like a tree without roots. If you don't know from where you come from, you're gonna just topple over. And so many of you are okay with cutting off your roots so that you quote unquote could just have a plant that blooms. What good is a flower that blooms for one day and dies and don't have any roots? If you have roots, you continue to bloom forever and ever and ever once you're nurtured and taken care of. But you know, there's some of you who just don't care, and it's all about wanting people to like y'all and wanting to be close to power and wanting to be close to money. So I wanted to make sure that I thank the Historic Preservation Commission for doing the right thing, but you half step in, send out a letter with a time sorting. That's how you do those things. All right. So we talked about that last week, and I've been writing down because somebody said, "Oh, you tell me you're coming back to talk about stuff, and then you don't come back to talk about it." Now, we're going to follow up on this whole Democratic Party fiasco. And for my radio listeners, one of my faithful listeners sent me a t-shirt, and it says, sometimes you need to shush, right? Because a lot of times people don't shush, and it'll make things worse for themselves. And that is the case in point in the Democratic Party. And we're going to get to that in 2 seconds. But there is another story that I think is very, very important that I wanted to share with y'all. And let me find where it is. 2 things I wanted to talk to y'all about. I saved it. I just need to get into the notes in my phone because I want to be able to get y'all something that I didn't talk about before and that I needed to talk about now, right? There is a lawsuit between the story I didn't get to last week that I wanted to talk about because I thought it was very important. Is I found this on WTJX newsfeed.org. It was written by Tom Ada, and it says, a landlord restores water to Virgin Islands Police Department offices. Same day the GVI files a lawsuit to block illegal eviction tactic. It says the Virgin Islands government has filed a lawsuit against St. Thomas Liquor Company Ltd. And its agent, Blue Anchor Asset Management LLC, alleging that the landlord illegally shut off water service to 3 Virgin Islands Police Department offices, forcing the department to close them. The lawsuit, filed by Assistant Attorney General Sheena Conway on behalf of the GVI and the VIPD on Friday in Superior Court, District of St. Thomas St. John, indicates that the landlord stated in a letter issued Thursday that the water had been eliminated at 3 VIPD offices in St. Thomas due to alleged unpaid rent. The complaint states that under the lease agreement, the landlord has customarily provided utilities, including water and electricity, to the leased premises. The lawsuit claims St. Thomas Liquor Company shut off the water to compel the government to vacate the leased premises, noting that the Virgin Islands Code prohibits the use of self-help measures such as cutting off utilities to evict a lessee. In its filing, the government contends that St. Thomas Liquor Company's actions interfere with its ability to provide essential public services and pose a risk to public safety. The complaint asserts that the loss of operational VIPD offices has caused irreparable harm to the community. The government is seeking an emergency temporary restraining order requiring the immediate restoration of water service to the affected VIPD offices. The landlord, however, said water service was restored the same day the government filed its complaint. I've already turned the water back on, Anthony Shaleen, Blue Anchor owner, said. Shaleen, who is not familiar with the lawsuit, said he turned the water off Thursday and turned it back on Friday. He declined to confirm that he shut off the water because VIPD was not paying rent. He then declined further comment. Additionally, the government is also requesting a preliminary injunction to prevent the landlord from terminating water service in the future, stating that it's likely to prevail on the merits of the case because the conduct violates Virgin Islands law. The government has asked the court to waive any bond requirement typically associated with injunctive relief. According to the lawsuit, VIPD leases office space from St. Thomas Liquor Company at 3 locations on St. Thomas, Suites 209 and 210 in Building 1, and Suites 401, 402, and 403B in Building 2 at Alcoins Plaza, as well as Suites A through E on the 3rd floor of a building in Haven site. The lease term runs from October 1st, 2022 through October 31st, 2027. Now, you might want to know why I'm talking about this, right? And I think it's important because it brings up two issues. I wanted to discuss this last week, and then this week there was also an issue where Attorney General Ray confirmed that he's been submitting his invoices to from the medical examiner to the Department of Finance. They're processing it, and that finance just isn't releasing the checks, that people aren't getting paid on time. Now, I don't know if the VIPD has been submitting their lease payments ahead of time or not, but it would seem to me that if the government of the Virgin Islands and all of these people, that enter into leases, that if you have a leased property and the government is leasing from a private entity, every year during the budget markup, that portion, the legislature appropriates your lease payments, right? The agency should not have to, on a monthly basis, file paperwork for the lease space. We are responsible, and when I say we, I'm talking about the government of the Virgin Islands. The government of the Virgin Islands, you're responsible for those lease payments. So there should be some sort of automatic pay mechanism over at the Department of Finance once the budget comes online, and you know that agency A has a lease, and this is the monthly lease, $2,000, then every month you should prioritize the lease payment, because that's like keeping a roof over your head. So you're supposed to prioritize your lease payments. It makes no sense. The legislature should not have to legislate everything. The legislature did the single payer utility fund because light bills weren't getting paid. The legislature should not have to do the same for leases. It is common sense. You adopt an internal policy between OMB and the Department of Finance that out of every agency's budget, their lease payment will be automatic. If your payment is due on the 1st, the 10th, the 15th, the 30th, whatever, and you set those up as automatic monthly reoccurring payments for the terms of your lease. Every software design allows you to have a reoccurring payment. The government system is no different. We take situations and we create mountains out of molehills. And because we don't know how to manage a molehill, it becomes a mountain. There should be in every department, when you have the financial person, when the budget comes online, the Department of the Office of OMB has somebody that works with these agencies. When your budget comes online, there should be automatic payments that OMB says, listen, you can get the rest of your money to do whatever other extracurricular things you want to do within your agency. But after payroll and your light bill and your lease, and in some agencies like let's use the Department of Human Services. If you have to buy medication, those after the payment for medication, certain vendor payments, then you release the funds. But we have a management crisis where people who are tasked with managing and making decisions, critical thinking type of decisions, they don't have the critical thinking skills to come up with a easy solution to a non-difficult problem, because this isn't difficult. It's not that it would be different if you said we are not having the collection. If it's a collection issue, that's fine, because you may not have the money in the bank to pay. But once the money is in the bank to pay, you are supposed to prioritize certain payments. I mean, you need a roof over your head, right? You need to keep your lights on, and then you need your employees, right? And that's in no particular order. right? So you these are the things you need. So you need to prioritize those payments. And we have to stop thinking that, and so many agencies, because WAPA is a government entity, we ain't gonna pay it. No, those payments are priority payments. Pay those. Your employees are priority. WAPA is a priority. Your rent, where you're living in this sense, in the workforce, where you're living, you have to pay. You pay those. Then after that, you have critical vendors in a household. You need your telephone, so you're gonna pay that. You have medication, you're going to pay that. So in government, you do the same thing. That there are critical vendors that must be paid because they provide you with material, services, supplies that if you don't have, you can't perform the mandates that's legally required of your department. You pay those. I mean, I don't understand. We have people that get paid a lot more money than Jamila Afifa don't make. A lot more. And they can't come up with simple managerial solutions. And y'all put them on all of these high elevated platforms like they're so great, so smart, so wonderful. But the people are suffering. You have somebody, and now you have somebody turning off water to a government building because they weren't paid. Now, mister, you have to go to court to get that done. And you have to sue the government to get your payments. Should that happen? No. But there's a legal way to it. And we can't. Can I fault the landlord for doing it? No. People will get frustrated. You in my place, I can't pay my bills because you ain't paying yours. And okay, so I have an assistant commissioner who's telling me that our leases are straight pay and drawn down from that PO every month. And that's fine. Because I know there's a system and there's supposed to be a system, but you need at the end of the day, even if property and procurement, when you enter the lease and they sign off on the lease and the lease is this amount, the Department of Finance who issues the check, they have to be able to be on time. If the money in the bank release the checks, I don't understand how certain people in government, and there's talks that there's certain vendors that have never missed a pay because of their relationship with whoever. But then you don't pay regular bills. You have to pay your bills. And the government has to pay the bills. I mean, if you tell me this month we don't have the cash flow, the money ain't coming in the bank because, revenues don't always equal cash. And projected revenues is just that what you think you're going to project. It's actual collections and what it puts in the bank, right? If you don't have the money in the bank to pay, I'll say patience. But a lot of this isn't the lack of funds in the bank. It's the lack of somebody not doing a job that they don't get paid well to do. That they don't get paid well to do. And we need to, we need to take an honest assessment. When you're hearing about, the DOJ have money, and you want to know how I know DOJ have money? DOJ have money because the Epstein money was real money in the bank. And they have, according to the settlement agreement, DOJ is supposed to get a percentage of the money the legislature appropriated, set amount of monies for the DOJ. Pay the bills for the people. I don't get it. And then that is why people lose faith and trust in our government, because what you're doing makes no sense. And again, there's some vendors who don't miss a payment. They don't miss a payment to them because of whatever reason. But others, they have to be begging to get their check. That's wrong. If the money comes in, paid. We need to get better with doing that. Somebody want to talk to me. Yes, good morning.
Good morning, Jamila. I wouldn't say all the other thing I'm in between a Pia, La Lila. I don't know them things. Anyway, I heard you say that it's a good rainy day in paradise today.
Yeah, it raining.
Well, yes, well, it's a very frosty day in Florida. When you wake up and there's frost all over you with chill, then you know.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, I must congratulate you for saying what you just said with regards to common sense no longer being so common. And I say this with all seriousness. You should open a school to teach government operations because everything you say about the way it should run is what you're saying, and it is far from the governor saying they don't know how hard his job is. What job hard? There's no job that's hard. If you can do it, first of all, a governor don't have to go to school to be a governor. So that you get elected by popularity, then hire people like Jamila and them to help you run it. I think I've said enough. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, bye-bye. All right, so let me read a comment just pop up here. It said payments are withheld when there are typically issues with the leased properties that are in dispute, and the payments are withheld until those issues are addressed, especially when the agencies are impacted with environmental issues such as mold, mildew. Even to that, I don't agree with. Unless it specifically says in the lease agreement that you can withhold payment while a landlord address an environmental issue, you legally can't withhold somebody pays. Typically, your lease agreement speaks to the everything in the lease. So unless our lease agreement says that payment can be withheld if there is an environmental issue that the lessor needs to handle, if the lease does not say that, the government just can't decide not to pay somebody. The government can remove itself from a lease if there is environmental issues and you have documented that you've contacted your landlord and said, hey, there's mold in this building, you need to remediate against the mold because this is your property and stuff like that. But you cannot withhold payment for just like they can't turn off the water, you can't withhold payment because of that issue. You can remove yourself, and that is legitimate grounds for breaking the lease. But just saying that there is an issue with a landlord and you're gonna withhold somebody until they address it is two wrongs don't make a right. And so we need to treat our landlords the way we want to be treated as lessees. And so and if the lease doesn't speak to that, the government can't do that. It doesn't matter if you're the government. You can't do that. It's illegal. You can't do that. You can only do what the lease agreement speaks to, and the lease agreement should speak to all of those things. And if the lease agreement does not speak to those things, then you can't just withhold somebody payment because a government agency saying more. So if you have a worthless commissioner that don't want to pay the lease because they don't like the landlord because the building have mold, I hold in payment. You see what I'm saying? So we have to treat these people consistently. Hey, I just be forgetting. I to tell people they can pass anytime. Come have a seat.
How you forget me?
I always forgetting. Don't worry. I just forget people.
Jamila.
Hi. I have Dr. Edward Browne here in the studio. I'm gonna turn the camera to him. We're gonna do at 9 o'clock. Jen gonna break for the station ID, and then he's gonna join the conversation. A couple of things, but I just wanted to speak about that because as a government, we need to be more responsible with how we treat our vendors, and we can't expect that everybody is going to be okay with not being paid and saying, oh, well, I'm a Virgin Islander, I gonna stick and stay and I gonna suffer while you get your act together, when partner over here who the drink rum with whoever he the drink rum with and to go to whoever house to watch wherever on TV getting paid regularly. We have to have consistency. Now, let me do the top of the hour and I'll be right back.
Good morning, everyone.
Stand up for decency. Stand up for compassion. Stand up for respect. Stand
Deborah,
up.
come say hello.
I haven't seen you for a minute. How you doing, Mr. Browne?
I'm doing well. Just busy with all this Greenland stuff. You're not gonna believe what you're gonna see in about 2 months. You're not gonna.
Hi, how are you?
This is Deborah. You know my wife.
Yeah, I know your wife.
Okay.
Hi.
You gonna go back? You gonna go back or you gonna say? Yeah, I know you ain't into it.
Here we go. Here we go.
All right, and we're back. So I have Dr. Edward Browne here with us, and yeah, and there are several things that we want to talk about that I'm going to get to because all of the Trump stuff, and there's a particular issue I want to talk to about. The governor reaching out to the president for the BVI. We're going to get to that, but right before we get to that, let me share this. Let me see. I'm trying to figure out how many more weekends I have. Wait, hold on 1 second, okay? Where's my calendar? Today is the 17th, right? Today's the 17th, right?
Yes, ma'am.
So next week, Saturday, will be the 26th.
24th.
The 24th.
Yeah.
And then the state of the territory address would be the 26th.
Correct. The Monday.
Okay. All right. So I do want to talk to you guys about what happened on the floor of the legislature during session. I have that clip. We're going to play that. Dr. Browne and I will get to that in just a second. But there is a story on the WTJX news feed that I want to share. Hang on 1 second. Dr. Browne, let me turn the camera to you so people can see you. If I could find my story.
I don't look as good as Josh,
Listen, I haven't seen Josh in a minute. Josh don't be coming up on Saturdays unless there's an issue. Okay, so I'm gonna turn the camera to. There you go. You can see you.
Yeah, they could see me.
You can see you.
Yeah, they
Okay.
could see the shiny bald head. Oh, gee. Oh, why I said that?
You're supposed to put powder on it.
Gee.
You're supposed to put powder on it. Here we go.
Oh, gee, that BI 340 gonna kill me with that. Oh, gee. Anyway, Jamila.
Oh, what? Oh,
No,
okay,
yeah,
okay,
yeah.
I just heard you say, okay. Maybe they'll be kind.
I hope so.
BVI opposition leader urges talks with USVI as charter fee hikes get attention from White House.
Mm-hmm.
It was written by Tom Eater. It was posted late last night.
Correct.
I don't know if you had an opportunity to read it.
I've been following.
But it says the British Virgin Islands opposition leader is calling for officials from the BVI and the U.S. Virgin Islands to discuss the increases in BVI charter fees that a new U.S. trade report states are significantly affecting the USVI marine tourism industry before the U.S. government intervenes. Myron Walwyn, leader of His Majesty's Loyal Opposition 6th District Representative, discussed the matter during the first sitting of the third session of the 5th House of Assembly on Tuesday. That's a lot of explanation for.
That's how the British are.
Yeah. Regardless of who right or regardless of who wrong, let us get a grip on this thing before it gets out of hand, he said. We may get a level of intervention that we don't want. Walwyn said intervention by the U.S. government could result in negotiations that include other issues beyond charter fees. To us, we might just think about the fees, but to them, they throw everything on the table. Our visa waiver access that we get from the USVI, our use of the US dollar, he said. Walwyn called for a meeting with the USVI government to try and resolve the issue. I ain't set to roll over and play dead, not at all, he said. But dead right and dead wrong is still dead. You must listen to me. I like BVI deputy.
Caribbean.
Yeah, that's true. BVI Deputy Premier Julian Fraser rose during Tuesday's session to express his disappointment with Walwyn, the Virgin Islands News Online reported on Wednesday. Fraser said the fact that the BVI Premier Natalio Whitley does not speak about the fee increases in the House of Assembly does not mean that he's not actively pursuing it. He noted 2 meetings on the matter with USVI officials. The Premier is actively pursuing this whole matter, Fraser said. So I just want to make sure that is clear. And I urge the members of this House that whatever you say or do, if it's not something constructive, to leave it alone because you're only damaging the territory. The BVI implemented new charter fees that took effect on June 1st, 2025, increasing annual charter license fees for unlimited access to BVI waters from $800 to $24,000 per vessel, and daily license fees from $200 to $8,500. While when comments about the charter fees came after the release last December of the 16th report to Congress on the operation of the Caribbean Basin Economic Recovery Act, issued by the Office of the United States Trade Representative in the Executive Office of the President of the United States. According to the report, the BVI's adoption of the Commercial Recreational Vessel Licensing Act on June 1st, 2025, increased the fees on foreign charter vessels entering the BVI territorial waters by up to 4,000%. The changes are significantly affecting the marine tourism industry of the U.S. Virgin Islands, which is closely integrated with the BVI, including forcing USVI charter operators to close or relocate, the report stated. The USVI marine tourism industry supports as many as 5,000 jobs and contributes approximately $166 million to the local economy. I don't know where they're going to put those numbers from. The Virgin Islands Professional Charter Association issued a statement last June that criticized the BVI government for implementing the charter fee increases, suggesting more businesses and jobs will be lost to the BVI without immediate action from the USVI government. Kenyon Jones, PCA Executive Director, said at that time that the territory had already lost 3 charter companies to the BVI. Project Fairwaters, a USVI-based coalition of marine and tourism-related stakeholders, welcomed the release of the U.S. trade report. For the first time, the president's own trade office has put in black and white that USVI families have been living for months. The BVI's 4,000% fee hike is not a routine policy practice. It is an unfair trade barrier that puts roughly 5,000 jobs and $166 million of U.S. economic activity at risk. Project Fairwaters highlighted that the report notes the president may terminate, limit, suspend, or withdraw CBERA benefits when a beneficiary adopts trade distorting measures that harm U.S. commerce. The coalition also noted the report cites several cases of
Appropriation.
Me no.
It's close enough.
Expropriation.
There you go.
Expropriation or seizure of VI citizen-owned property by the BVI government. Okay.
You want my opinion?
So,
ask the question.
No. I'm saying it says, no, I'm skipping some of it because it's a long story. It says, in addition to the coalition's advocacy, Governor Albert Browne Jr. wrote a letter to President Donald Trump and members of his cabinet last month to have the federal government intervene. The governor wrote in his December 4th, 2025 letter that Project Fairwaters estimate that more than 90 vessels have shifted their home port to the BVI since the new fees took effect. The governor indicated that USVI economy could lose up to $100 million annually on a long-term basis because of the new fees, estimating the territory has already lost $14 million since the fees were increased. He noted more than 800 local jobs hang in the balance. As a territory, the USVI cannot negotiate international maritime access, Browne wrote. Because the BVI is a United Kingdom overseas territory, this is an international matter and one that requires the full weight of the federal government to resolve. Browne urged the federal government take 4 actions: engage the UK at the highest diplomatic levels to discuss the BVI fee structure, have Ambassador Jameson Greer, the U.S. Trade Representative, lead an immediate review of these policies and consider whether they violate the spirit or letter of trade fairness, evaluate BVI eligibility under CBERA, and convene an interagency task force focused on USVI, BVI maritime access. Let me be clear. We respect the BVI's authority to regulate its waters, Browne wrote, but this is not cost recovery. This is economic exclusion. And the result is US-based companies being pushed out of a US territory and into a foreign jurisdiction. The governor told WTJX last June that the USVI negotiated what it thought was fair after meeting with BVI officials on several occasions to discuss the charter fees. It's only fair that they get paid for people to come into their waters. They're really worried about their charter industry, Browne said. Bryan's letter to Trump shows a notable shift from cooperation to confrontation as he went from defending the negotiations to seeking federal intervention. On the same day Browne wrote to Trump, Delegate to Congress Stacey Blaskett announced that she met with Greer during a Ways and Means Committee roundtable discussion to discuss the Trump administration's ongoing trade negotiations and their impact on the USVI. She noted that she raised critical concerns about the BVI charter fee increases, but did not provide details about the discussions in her press release. Wheatley, who recently defended the BVI charter fee increases as a matter of responsible governance and long-term economic planning rather than confrontation while addressing the House of Assembly, said engagement with Browne and his delegation allowed the BVI to explain its policy objections, listen to concerns, and reaffirm its commitment to constructive engagement. Well, gloves are off. What do you think?
I stand with Governor Browne. That's not even a question.
Okay.
We gonna fight like we always have. I mean, I think that the gentleman before who is in the opposition, he has the right to say what he has to say, but he's not the premier. And Mr. Wheatley has the right as the premier to work with the government officials, and clearly he's taken a position. And the BVI is part of the UK, and the Virgin Islands of the United States is part of the US. And so Governor Browne said that he went and negotiated a fair deal. I didn't hear Mr. Wheatley said it wasn't fair. And so I stand with Governor Browne and the Browne Roach administration. If the governor states that he feels that this requires US intervention, which President Trump clearly, as we all see and we'll talk about in a moment, has some serious issues with the Europeans, I would recommend to Mr. Wheatley, to the Premier Wheatley, to pick up the phone and call Governor Browne and have a discussion as we are neighbors and resolve the problem before we have to bring in the US and the UK. If not, then we will win. And there's no other option. We will win.
And I think that at this point, though, first and foremost, when I didn't understand our governor attempting to negotiate because neither one of them could negotiate on behalf of the U.S. government
This is true.
or the British government. So I said it here before.
You did.
I said it here before. I thought that when the governor went up, it was just pomp and circumstance. Collaboratively, people on the St. Thomas side of the Virgin Islands, they consider Tortola part of the greater Virgin Islands because they have a lot of family members there.
I do.
But at this point, the fact remains that while we are in the Caribbean and we may be Caribbean neighbors and we may have families on the islands that are closely connected, we are operated by two different forms of government.
That is true.
And for the lack of a better term, we are the property of two opposing, or they say they're allies, but the United States was formed running from England.
Exactly.
The United, the people that formed the quote unquote United States of America didn't want to be British any longer. So I don't know how much friends you could be when you didn't want to be in the house, right? But that being said, those fees and any of these fees that is negotiated, the fees that are negotiated have to be negotiated on, I said it before, by the federal government. Our government,
True.
Governor Browne cannot sign off on a unilateral agreement for the use of the British waters as the governor of the Virgin Islands. That any treaty, any agreement has to be signed by the
sovereigns.
either the sovereigns, which would be
the
I don't know if it's the UK,
yeah,
whether it's
UK.
through the Department of the Interior or the actual White House, however that looks,
State Department, all of that.
or whoever else. It's not
Congress may have a
yeah,
say to it.
you understand. So I thought that when he went to visit and say that it was being negotiated, I thought that at that time we needed to exercise the full force of the United States. I said it back then.
You
Like
did, I heard you.
you know, we needed to just tell them what we doing. Because it's clear, and it was clear to me then that they were adamant about what they want done and the fees that they want to impose. And which is very interesting because right now, I don't know if you're aware of this, but we have Senator Volquez who had a resolution asking for an extension or the readoption of the Caribbean Basin Initiative.
Yeah, I saw that.
And you know, asking for a seat at the table, you know, for the, and I'm like, okay, I mean, it's a resolution. and and it's clear that they're and you know they were stuck in the mud, and I you know nothing, I don't know what was negotiated, but clearly the BVI ain't changing their position to the point where you have groups now in St. Thomas, because the charter industry is bigger in the St. Thomas district than it is in the St. Croix district. You
Yes.
have people forming organizations, and the governor has clearly had to acquiesce to the reality that, hey, this man ain't gonna just say, well, we's friends, so let me just leave it alone. They're pushing full steam ahead, and now the governor of the United States has done what I think he should have done from the very beginning, and calling Trump, because it is clear that if Trump thinks that somebody is trying to take advantage of the United States, whether or not we agree with the man's politics, whether we like the man, whether we think he's smart, whether all of the whether's that could be out there. The fact of the matter is that if Trump thinks he is being taken advantage of, he's going to take some decisive action, and
He will.
and you know, and he don't like to feel like,
His true strength.
yeah, and he don't feel as if he does not want to be the person on the losing end of
Never.
the stick.
Never.
And so, you know,
Never.
to
Not
our
done.
friends listening in the British Virgin Islands, you know, this you know, y'all have more to lose than us.
Way more.
Way more to lose than us, because your relationship with the British Crown is substantially different than our relationship with the United States. And the British Crown, since they did that whole Brexit, and so many people voted to remove to not be a what do you call it, a British sovereign,
The EU and all that.
and all of that stuff, they don't have the kind of resources to invest in a protracted battle for a territory in the Caribbean that, you know, may not be
Which they have issues with themselves.
which they have, yeah, substantial issues with.
Exactly.
So, you know, you be careful where you wish for, you just might get.
Well, you know, as somebody who's known Governor Browne since I was 13, 14, I think what happened, Jamila, and he's kind of said it too, you know, he tries to resolve, especially as a black man with another black man. And I know people said I shouldn't have anything to do with it, but look how far it's gotten now. That, you know, we may not be able, as you just mentioned, to really sit down, but we could kind of start the process and encourage the sovereigns to go along as closely as possible if we said that we could agree to this. And clearly now, Premier Wheatley, defending his people, which he's right to, no, nothing wrong with what he's doing, has decided to take this approach, which is his right. And Governor Browne is taking the appropriate approach. And I would encourage, I always believe in making a deal. It's like right now I'm going through this thing with the Danes for almost 20 years. I've been telling them, you guys don't know the history. And when you do, you guys gonna get punished badly from the wall. They didn't want to listen to me. They didn't even want to listen to my wife, who's peace to the dead.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, 2 years back, I went to Mr. Abdul program and I said, I'm going to deal with it now. And I'm not making a deal with nobody now. And the last 2 weeks, well, from since December, can we make a deal now? No. Can you help us with Trump? No. There ain't no deal now. You had a chance. So I think that's what's going to happen. And I think what you're seeing now, President Trump said yesterday with the whole Greenland thing, we're going to put tariffs on you. I don't think any of the European nations want to go there and be battling with Donald Trump because he may hit them with tariffs because of this matter. You never know what he does. He lives second by second, as he said, he trusts his feelings based on issues. So as you said, if you want to fight, then, be prepared to get punched in the mouth. As Mike Tyson said, once you get punched in the mouth, then you understand, okay, I wasn't ready to take that blow. So, we're going to win. That's as clear as it is. No offense to the people in Tatola, I got family over there. But you know what? I would have preferred that we tried to have sat down together and come up with something, then go to the UK, go to the State Department for the US and say, we think this might work. That clearly doesn't look like it's going to happen unless somebody pick up a phone, and it's not going to be Governor Browne. So he's not going to pick up the phone again to call unless they call to say we're going to try to come back and work something out. Well, we're going to go to the sovereigns and work it out through them.
Yeah. So my good friend, Dr. Monique Faulkner, said they are allies, talking about the U.S. and Britain. We know that they're allies. It says,
yeah, really?
Let me read this comment. They're allies. That was then, this is now. The allies of the U.S. are in question with your uncle now, and under this pomp and circumstance, it is clearly noted that Congress has limited power since your uncle choose to act in ignorance, bullying, and intimidation. Well, I don't know what issue you're talking about, Monique, right? But I mean, we could talk about all the other issues. I'm just talking about this particular issue with the issue between the United States, the Virgin Islands of the United States, and the British Virgin Islands.
So what folks trying to say, Jamila, we ain't supposed to stand up for ourselves as Virgin Islanders here about the U.S. part?
And the U.S. Virgin Islands was taking a blow. Those fees that I read, they are incredibly obstructive. I think
yes.
I think that, for the lack of a better word, I said it last summer, I think that the British Virgin Islands declared economic war on the Virgin Islands through the charter industry. And we because so many people from St. Thomas, they walk to Totola, and Totolans to come down to St. Thomas, they feel that they're interconnected. We're not. And it's clear the British Virgin Islands has said, we might like IO, but we only like IO up to this point.
And that's fine.
And we want this industry. And when people show you who they are, you're supposed to believe them the first time.
I believe them.
I believe them. So this whole idea of we are one and we're brothers. No, your brother isn't going to do what the British Virgin Islands did to the Virgin Islands charter boat industry. In essence, they try to cripple that industry so that they can have these charter boats come back in. It wasn't the Virgin Islands' fault that during COVID they kept the waters open, the British waters was closed, and people came here and found the Virgin Islands that would not have otherwise known about the Virgin Islands, may like the Virgin Islands and want to come now. And you're like, well, we need to make back all of that money we lose in COVID by charging all of this. This is what that is. And for anybody to think otherwise would be a little bit foolish. And so I think that the governor did the right thing in asking those with the power, because when you hold in the handle and they give you the blade, you need to go for help. You need somebody with some gloves so that they could give you gloves. You holding the blade, okay, give me some gloves, partner. And that's what they're doing. And I have no issues with that. And it's clear Trump has now, and whether or not we like Trump, we don't like Trump, whether we agree with what he's done.
He was elected by the American people, and the American people voted in a free, fair election. He's not a dictator. He won the Electoral College. He won the popular vote. Folks may not like it, Jamila.
But I have a lot of people who think like him, clearly. I keep telling them that, and so in terms of what happened in Venezuela,
that was amazing in the sense of that. And people died, so I acknowledge that. Nobody wants anyone to die. But what Delta Force did was just unbelievable, to go in less than 3 hours and get Mr. Maduro no loss of equipment, no loss of life, sent a message throughout the wall that the United States is going to show peace through strength. And if that means, as President Trump has said, that means other leaders around the world that you want to kill your people, harass your people, you will be killed. And I wish that Bill Clinton had taken that approach with Rwanda, and we wouldn't have had the Rwandan genocide. So on this particular issue, I'm 100% with President Trump. Because some people feel that they're bad, and there are some good people who are bad, like Delta and Navy, the Navy SEALs, that will come and get you, no matter how bad you think you are. Maduro was like, I have this cell phone, and nobody could track my cell phone. They shut off the lights. They went in, they did the damage, they got him out, and now he's in a prison.
But what do you think this does for the rule of international law, though? I mean, after the World Wars, we had what was first the League of Nations that
Yes,
then transitioned into
the United Nations.
And we have all of these international peace agreements where if you have an issue with a country, you're supposed to go, use diplomatic means to address the concerns that you may have. You use your tariff ability in your nation to economically cripple them so that they can acquiesce to some of your demands. What would you say about the United States lack of employing the traditional tools that exist to resolve issues and conflict they may have with a sovereign nation?
Okay, so good morning, everyone. My name is Dr. Edward L. Browne. I was the former executive director of the VI Republican Party, just so you guys can know as well. I've spoken at the United Nations.
Oh yeah, I didn't even. Sorry,
That's
I
all right,
neglected to
Jamila.
introduce you.
You
Go
get right
ahead.
to the point. At least 4 different times before the fourth committee. And I said this a couple of years back, the last time I spoke in 2011 at the UN. If nations don't step up to the plate and really solve the problem, stop the genocide, stop the killings and the things, the raping and the things that we see, there's going to be a time when leaders begin to take the attitude that we're going to come in and do it if you can't do it. And under President Trump now, you see that. You use the international laws and the bodies to solve problems, but yet still we have genocide. Yet still we have brutal dictators that are running the wall and killing people, imprisoning people, and doing wicked things while others talk and say, well, you know what, for hours and hours and days and weeks and months and years, and this is the way it is, while children and innocent people are being murdered. Nobody talks about that. They talk about it's unfair. Well, what about those victims? What about those children who won't grow up because their parents decided to go out to protest and someone decided, I'm going to shoot you because I'm the police or the military and I have the right to do this because my leader decided to do that. Okay, now, so President Trump is saying you could mess around, but then you're going to get the knife bomb inside of you in your car, and your children will see you bleed out, and they will understand that you were someone who could have made a deal, and you decided not to. Tough. That's how I see it, Jamila. Everything for me is Rwanda. And after I saw people in leadership decided to see those people go down the lake and do nothing for them, I don't want anybody tell me about international law. Where were they when they were the Rwandans? Where did they were with people who look like me and you? They weren't there. That's the other side of the argument. I believe in international law. I believe that's why I'm doing what I'm doing with Denmark and Greenland and all of this. I believe in international law. But then there is a time when you have to say to someone, Mister, I'm playing with you. You understand? You got to get serious and lead your people. Lead your people into prosperity. Not you try to dictate and dominate and kill them because you don't like their policies.
But then there's those who may say, though, Dr. Browne, right, that within the US, that the same brutality that exists in some of these sovereign nations, and that the United States has employed the same sort of violence and brutality against their own people. They have done it against people of color. If it was through experimentation with drugs that we didn't know about,
That's a ski experiment.
If it was bombing of cities because Black people lived there, or burning it down to the ground because we were too prosperous, to what's now occurring in the United States in terms of ICE just swarming and picking up people. How do you answer to who then checks the person who's checking everybody else?
The person who checks will be the voters. 90 million eligible voters sat out the last election. I don't agree with every policy President Trump does, especially domestic. Foreign is different, but domestic, I don't agree with some of the policies. But he was elected by the American people. And those people out there who are protesting have every right to protest. They have every right to be out there saying we disagree with the policies. And Congress is the body that is supposed to rein if they feel President Trump is out of control, to rein him in. That's what the framers of the Constitution designed the Constitution to do. The Supreme Court came in and said, well, while you're president, you have almost it seemed like absolute power. You just can't walk down the street and hurt somebody. But the system is working the way it's supposed to work. Now, we may not like the people who are in there. So what does that say to the voters in 2026? Go and vote. Vote like it's your life so that you have the government you want.
And clearly it is your life because
It
in the
is.
United States, people are being killed on their own soil.
Yes.
I think that while I think that it is difficult for people to align foreign policy and what they're seeing every day on the news that's happening domestically and feel like, okay, he's winning in one circle and failing in the next. Because if most people will see it as congruent and as a failure, as opposed to your position where you think he's doing great in public policy, in foreign policy,
correct,
but not so warm and fuzzy about some of his domestic policies. People just can't align themselves to that. And so I just wanted to,
because people have an image of the United States. The United States is an empire. I always remember two people now come to my mind. First one is Mr. Mario Moorhead. He said the way the people look at the United States, he's been saying this for years. It's not really the way the U.S. is, folks. And Adelbert Browne, who has been saying he knows government. You don't bet your life on things continuing the same way. Look, the visa restrictions, the immigrant restrictions, the travel bans, all of these things are being done. It's not, people aren't used to that with the United States, but every administration is not the same. I might be able to come to your house, Jamila, cock my foot up on your table and relax. Somebody else comes and say, get your foot off of my table. That's Trump. Trump is rewriting everything that we are used to because the United States feels that it is under threat, whether real or not, by Russia, China, Iran, North Korea, and others. And the United States is now taking the position, we are the empire, and we're going to act like the Roman Empire. And if you don't like it, tough.
But you know what happens to empire and to that?
They all fall eventually.
They all fall.
All of them.
And so I think that is what everybody is so concerned about, in that while he may be coming off as this big, strong person, my grandmother used to always say, you don't get more with honey than you do with vinegar. And it took me a long time to figure out what she meant, because I could be so abrasive.
Can you?
Oh yeah, I can be so abrasive, but I think that in terms of his domestic policy, I think his domestic policy is what's going to define him. And whether or not we agreed with Nicolas Maduro, we liked Nicolas Maduro, to most people, we all heard that Nicolas didn't win the election. He seized the presidency. And two things can be true at the same time.
Always.
Just like the United States people elected Donald Trump, the people in Venezuela, their election wasn't so free and fair, but they also have an opportunity to address their sovereign, their leader, in the manner that they would like. And they did not get that opportunity because Donald Trump decided, let me do it for you. And so
It's funny, right? It feels uncomfortable.
It leaves a very uncomfortable taste in the mouth of individuals who, like myself, who pay attention to the international arena. And now, and to what he says, because a lot of people think that he is stupid, and I keep
He's
telling
not.
people he's not.
Far from that.
And when he has now projected or has turned his attention onto Greenland,
Yes, the issue I'm dealing with.
yeah, it makes you say,
And Greenland is tied to the Virgin Islands through the Treaty Series 629, Jamila. And, that treaty was adopted in January of 1917. I hear a lot, folks may hear a lot about the Lansing Declaration or the Lansing Declaration, depending upon who you're talking to. And that is in the back of the contract because that's what it is, and it allows the U.S. to claim sovereignty over us for the moment, Jamila.
Mm-hmm.
You mean listen to that for the moment. I can't get into it because folks, I've been talking about trying to get the meeting with the delegate. I was able to go over and see Miss Wonderful Scotland and Miss Rivera and those wonderful folks at the delegate's office. And my wife told me I need to apologize to Miss Scotland, which I will do. Not because I said anything, folks. I didn't cuss. I don't do that. Disrespect. But when you know the history like me, sometimes you forget that other people don't. Mm-hmm. And they're just trying to do their job while you may be sitting there getting a little bit irritated because you know, there's only two outcomes that's going to happen, folks. Either the U.S. is going to go to war with the EU and it's going to feel like a world war and our people get drawn in because we have a lot of Virgin Islanders in the military and I don't want those people to be killed. Or it's going to go the way that I cannot talk about too much that the governor and the delegate will have to deal with. But Greenland, the future of Greenland is the future of the Virgin Islands. I'll leave it at that. And give you a chance to start asking me questions.
No, I don't hear, and I think this is where this is my position.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that when Donald Trump has focused on Greenland that they read any treaty from 1917.
No, and Denmark don't want to bring it up
and
either.
They're not going to read any of that, right? The people of Greenland said, we're not for sale. We don't want to be bought. We're this, we're that. The Danish Prime Minister
Mette Frederiksen
came out and was like, after their meeting or after Greenland met, they were like, okay, he's serious. And now they recognize that he's very, very serious. And you have nations
sending troops
saying, the NATO allies are now sending troops to firm up that Greenland is not for sale. We're not trying to allow you to do to Greenland what you did with Nicholas by coming in and swooping up the lead on all of that stuff. And, they're positioning themselves to the table to force a discussion. And I don't think that, I see it a little bit different than you do. I think that ultimately this is going to be resolved by conversation, and whatever it is that the United States sees, quote unquote, sees in Greenland, they're going to have the ability to access over time. Some sort of bilateral agreement will be orchestrated and signed, and then he's going to, he wants the Nobel Peace Prize.
He got it.
Well, he didn't get it. He got the one that the woman gave to him.
So he got it.
That's like me having an Olympic, you winning the Olympic medal and you giving me the Olympic medal. I don't, Jamila Russell's name isn't attached to an Olympic medal.
I don't care. Let me let you finish. Then I'll tell you what he's thinking. Go ahead.
I may have it in my possession, and all I want is to have it in my possession, which may be what he wants. But I think more than that, he wants to be recognized. There are people, he has the pick me syndrome. He wants to be picked. He wants people to like him. He wants for the Nobel Committee to say that he's this great and wonderful man, and he's waiting on an affirmation that's not going to come from the world because his behavior does not match what he wants. And so he ain't gonna get it. But he's hoping I'm going to carry on with Greenland and carry on with the EU, and then we're gonna work out a peaceful agreement where the US can access what they want to access in hopes that next year when the people then go to vote for the Nobel Prize, they give it to me.
Well, he might still get it if if he's able to negotiate.
Oh wait, I have somebody holding to speak.
Oh,
to.
okay, no
Okay,
problem.
hold on 1 second. Somebody wants to talk. Hello. Oh shoot. Hello.
They're gonna call back, Jamila.
No. I want.
Yes, hello.
Oh, there you
okay.
go.
Yeah,
Yes, good morning.
Hi.
Hey, Jamila, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. How are you? I'm fine. I'm just sitting here listening to your show, right? And let me tell you something. First of all, okay, I'm going to start with this current thing here about Greenland. It doesn't have anything to do with no USDI, okay? Because Trump don't give a rat's patootie about no USDI. This has more to do with Russia and Russia's accessibility to certain things through Greenland. Because if you look at the map, where is Russia and where is Greenland? And now the European nations are gathering together and sending their troops in to protect and secure Greenland from Russian invasion and from the United States invasion. Where Putin done already tell them, I don't care what y'all do. If I want to invade Greenland, I will invade Greenland. But Trump is disrespectful in the fact, let me put the respect on it because he's the president. President Trump is disrespectful in the fact that he sat down, okay, with the Danes and with Denmark, and then he still turned around in a press release and totally disregarded everything that they talked about and said that the United States will take over Greenland. This is bullying tactics. It is bullying tactics, and for the gentleman that's there, let me tell you something.
Yes. Good morning.
As I'm listening to, good morning. As I'm listening to this conversation,
Yes.
my mind is going back to how it would have been in the slavery days. Okay, where you have some blacks that's kissing up to the master. Okay, this is the master, and we in the United States are being regressed.
Yes.
Like as if we are on some kind of a plantation with ice.
Yes.
And those people going out to lynch American citizens and lynch innocent people.
Yes.
And I cannot agree with some of the things that you're saying.
Yes.
Because other nations are beginning to look at us like as if we are less than a third world country right now.
Yes.
You do not rule with fear, intimidation, and bullying. That's not the way you rule. And while I understand that the United States may be a quote-unquote superpower right now,
Yes.
how super are we if all of our allies gang up against us?
Yes. Okay.
And listen, let me, and again, like I said, I don't, I disagree with the reasons why Trump has set his eyes on Greenland. Jamila, firmly believe that the reason he wanted to invade Venezuela was for the dirty crude oil that's
He
in
said
there.
so.
Right, but he said so after.
Yeah,
Right, he said so after. And I knew that before because the Virgin Islands has long had an agreement with PDVSA.
Yes.
And the United States Virgin Islands is one, I think, of only 4 refineries worldwide that can process dirty crude. Our refinery here, that's why our refinery was very, very important back in the day with Hovenza. And that's why they built the cracker. We don't call it it's a catalytic type of converter that detect all of the dirtiness out of the oil and make it into usable good oil, because Venezuelan oil ain't good oil, it's dirty, right? And so we know that it's about the oil. And with Greenland, I think that it has to do with all of the things. I don't watch a lot of movies, right? And then after I watch a movie, typically Hollywood, they'll be insightful to things that and resources that places have.
Yes.
And in one of the movies, I can't remember the movie, but Greenland had to be protected because it have like a safe spot there with all of these precious things, gems and rarities.
Rare earths. Yes.
Yeah, they had the rare arts buried in Greenland someplace in the event that there's some meteor come and hit Earth, right? But that took me, I don't go down these rabbit holes. And I went down this rabbit hole for Greenland, and there's a lot of Greenland is rich with minerals. I want to say mineral fibers, whatever you call, things that rich people need to become richer people, right? And this is what this is about. You follow what I'm saying? And we know that that's what that is.
Greenland is worth trillions of dollars.
Yeah.
You hit in it on the head.
And so
that's what it's about. It's not about no USDI.
And so no,
I ain't saying that, miss. I wish I could say things, but I can't say. Sorry, miss.
And my thing is,
I can't say something.
I told you, but I just want you to know.
Yes.
The USDI don't got a nickel in that guy.
Listen, we don't even have a penny in my estimation.
You'll find out.
I mean, Dr. Browne, you may know something.
I know something you don't know.
And when I find out, I'll come back and say, oh, okay. But until then,
everybody gonna find out soon enough. Everybody gonna find out.
And I'm just saying, like, I know that we're strategically located, and it's beneficial to have us where we are, to have us as a possession between the North America and South America. We are in the Caribbean. We're in the middle of, we border the Atlantic Ocean and the Caribbean Sea, and the Gulf, and the Gulf of Mexico. They don't call it now, right? The Caribbean Sea feeds up into the Gulf of Mexico. So I'm just saying, like, we're uniquely positioned, but I do believe that his now hyper focus on Greenland is, he wants the United States is not a country that is replete with natural resources and minerals. And when he's done with Greenland, remember, all of this stuff about Nigeria and the Christians and all of that, they ain't have a thing to do with church, They don't have a thing to do with church. After Greenland, he's going to go to the motherland. Remember, Jamila tell you so.
And Cuba.
Well, that's
This is a question I have to ask the gentleman, and I have to ask you and the gentleman that's there.
Yes.
2 questions.
Yes.
The first question is, why do you think that I'm switching back to Tatola now. Why do you think that the premier of Tatola is hell-bent on a stance on the decision that he made? Like, why do you think that
Mm-hmm.
Why is he not shifting on his position? Is it something higher than him?
To answer that, I don't know per se what discussions are going on in the BVI. I've seen Mr. Whitley talk. He's a black man. He is a man, and he's the leader of that territory, as we would say. And he's made a decision that he feels is in the best of his people, and he has the power of the UK to support him. And we'll see how that goes.
Okay.
Second question.
And then the second question is, let's look at what's going on right now in the United States of America with ICE.
Mm-hmm.
Let's look at what's going on in South Africa, the African nations.
Yes.
What went on in Venezuela.
Yes.
What the president is trying to do with Greenland.
Yes.
The proposed allegations of what he's going to try to do with Cuba.
Yes.
And this is a question that I want to pose to you.
Mm-hmm.
How long do you think the world is going to sit idly by and allow a president of a nation to run rogue because Congress and the Supreme Court cannot control the president of the United States of America? There are no checks and balances right now in America.
Mm-hmm.
It's like a loose cannon.
Mm-hmm.
We running wide. Americans are fighting inside of America.
Yes.
You understand? And then other nations are looking at us like, what the heck is going on with America? I mean, from day one, that election wasn't one fair and square. The world, the nation did not turn red. There was redistricting. There were votes from black Americans that were not counted. And right now they're trying to do the same thing again with the redistricting.
Mm-hmm.
The election was not one fair and square. It was not. There is too much divisiveness and divide among the American people right now.
Mm-hmm.
So how long do you think that the leaders of other nations are going to sit down and allow this travesty to happen? This travesty that's going to go down in the history book.
Yes.
Because it's going to form, there is going to be a war if this continues.
You want me to tell you what? There ain't gonna be no war. You want to know what happened? When wealthy men get in a room and
There
power
you
hungry
go.
men get in a room,
Thank you, Jamila.
Russia
Say.
gonna say, hey, listen, you will go after the X, Y, and Z, just don't come over here. China, and it's a discussion with those people, the superpowers and those who have nuclear capability. They're going to be to the table, and Russia gonna say, okay, Donald, me and you gonna have to talk about Greenland. I could care less what you do in North and South America. Just don't come over
Carving up the
to
wall.
just don't come over to
The Eastern Hemisphere.
to Eastern Europe, and then we're good. And so you're going to see Russia has already started with the invasion of the Ukraine.
Correct.
Russia is going to start to reclaim some of those territories lost when the Cold War ended. And Donald gonna be like, okay, you could go on, you could invade them because I want to be able to have Cuba. And deals are going to be made. What's going to happen for that to shift is that in those nations, in the country that has been the moral compass, quote unquote, of the world,
Doing that, no.
right? Has been the moral compass of the world. The people will have to stand up. And yes, while there was this redistricting and while there are barriers to people being able to vote, people have to do what our elders and our ancestors did
90 million?
and stand up and say, listen, if I can't mail in my ballot, I'm going to stand up for the 2 hours to get to vote. We have to be committed to be the voice and the change that we want to be. And that's my take.
In the USA, you have to vote in the district in which you're registered.
Yes.
You can't go outside of it to vote, and that's why there was redistricting.
Mhm.
So those votes weren't counted for certain people. I can't go outside of my district to vote. You understand?
Yeah.
So my vote ain't gonna count if my district is not counted. You understand? This ain't St. Thomas.
Yeah.
This ain't the voting idea.
Yeah, but so I think
structures and,
yeah,
and
so
policies
yeah.
that's happening up there.
I
But
understand.
what I want to say, and I'm going to leave you on this.
Yes.
I'm going to leave you on this. There is going to be a war. Because right now, Russia is saying, Greenland ain't going no place. Greenland belongs to us. And Denmark is saying, come hell, heaven, and high water, we releasing Greenland. And right now, all the European countries, all the European nations are gathering together and sending their forces into Greenland. And the president that we have, if you look back in history, even from the time he was a child, he do not back down. He is a bully.
Yeah, we need
He is
cooler.
a bully that cannot be controlled.
And we need cooler heads to
And
prevail.
that's my thing.
Yeah,
Yes,
we need
ma'am.
cooler heads to prevail.
Thank
I
you.
really
Thank
don't.
you.
Yeah, thank
Thank
you.
you.
I want cooler heads to prevail.
Check.
I would not advocate for war.
So I know time is up. So let me say this to everybody. Everybody hear my voice is just calm and cool, but you said it, Jamila, being in the room. I was in the room 20 years ago when folks were talking all the things that everybody sees now. When I went up to the Young Republican Federation meeting in DC, that's where I met Trent Lant and all of these people. And they were talking about Chavez, Venezuela, and the oil refinery right here. And big discussion going on, and I going into every meeting and they talking about the same thing, and I telling them, no, I'm coming in here to tell the people of the Virgin Islands nothing. But I listened to their discussions and I said, okay, in 10 years, 20 years, it's not going to be the same America. Because these were young people that were saying the same thing that Donald Trump was saying 20 years ago. They got upset, these individuals, because nobody's answering my question. I got in the room. I'm always in the room, folks. That's why I'm calm. That's why I could tell you what's going to happen. Like I just said, there's going to be a war between NATO nations and the US by March, because President Trump said he wants this wrapped up by March. Or there's another way, which I have, that the delegate and the governor, based on their taking an oath, will deal with, and it goes up the chain. Now, I went into the meeting. There's senators, US senators, US Congress people, some really wealthy billionaires, like billionaires, sitting at a table with some executives from Exxon, Chevron, you name it, all of them, talking about the oil refinery here, Chavez, and all of these things. I jumped up, Jamila. I said, let me tell Allah, just you know me already. I tell her, let me tell Allah something in this room, yeah. None of you come into the Virginia Specialist and crying, telling us nothing. All I could sit here, sit down, and telling all you, none of you. I don't care. All of them turn around, and this old guy just started smiling and laughing. He just couldn't contain himself, laughing. So now I feel in a way. So the man come up to me afterwards, and he said, I say, you laughing at me, man. Everybody surrounding this man. I don't know who the man is. They don't care still. But they surrounding from the Department of Defense, other billionaires, everybody just. So he's like, no, man, I respect you. I respect you a lot. I know Leon Hess. I know John Hess. I've been at that refinery. And I'm going to tell you something. Watch and see what happens in the years to come, young man. What's your name again? Edward Browne. He said, watch and see what happens. And the way he said it made me realize things had to be put in place to protect the Virgin Islands. I know all of you listening don't know what I mean, but in a couple of weeks, you will understand. And you will understand what I'm saying. Everything I do is for the Virgin Islands. I am under the American flag, and I only want the best for the Virgin Islands and the United States. And that is where my heart is and will always be, Jamila. Okay?
I agree.
That's it.
That the best we should all want the best for the Virgin Islands. I want to thank you for taking time
Always,
Saturday
Jamila.
to come up here and talk to the people about the things that are important to you. As
Yes.
y'all know, I have an open door policy.
You do.
Y'all can come up, talk about what you want to talk about. And we can have a discussion. I hope I was able to keep up with you because sometimes I can't.
Your fans, listen, Jamila, your people so loyal, man. They're loyal to you. If you're not on, they're like, no, Jamila ain't there. You got people who are ride with you, Jamila. You don't ride with them, and I respect that.
I love them.
For sure.
I love the Virgin Islands.
Yes,
All right.
man.
So, ladies and gentlemen, that was my friend, Dr. Edward Browne. And I want to be able to just thank him. And in the last 5 minutes, because I only have 5 minutes left, I want to tell y'all that sometimes I'm wearing my shirt that says sometimes you need to shush, right?
That's right.
That's a message to the Democratic Party
Oh,
of the
boy.
Virgin Islands.
I got it.
Sometimes you just need to shush. And clearly, y'all ain't shushing. Because if y'all are just shush, then the bill that allows people to run while working for the government of the Virgin Islands would have had a smooth passage through the legislature. But no, the Democratic Party want to put up obstacles, barriers, and forget that a bill you want passed needs the votes. But we're going to talk about that next week, Saturday, because just so y'all know, I have to explain parliamentary procedures to the people of the Virgin Islands. But just so y'all know, there was a story that said that the bill was tabled. The bill was not tabled. And the legislature is still actively in session. They're just on a recess, and the bill action and a vote will be taken on the bill. Once a bill gets to the floor of the legislature, you can only vote a bill up, down, or send it back to committee. And so, and our government system in the Virgin Islands completely different from government systems other places. But in the United States, you can only vote a bill up, down, or vote to send it back to a committee of competent jurisdiction. The story that I was referencing, I saw it, and somebody sent it to me from the Virgin Islands Consortium saying that the bill was tabled. Hold on, the person sent it to me. It's in my phone. It came from the Virgin Islands Consortium. Let me see who wrote it. I'm trying to open it. Hold on. Okay, it says the story was written by, it doesn't have a name. It just says staff consortium. I don't know what that means. It says Virgin Islands Democratic Party accuses senators of protecting their seats at the expense of Virgin Islanders after Bill 36-0134 is tabled by one vote. Now, the bill, the headline is misleading. And so the Democratic Party, shush, just shush. Just shush. Okay? Just be quiet. Yeah, just shush. do yourself a favor and just shut up. Okay? All right. I will break down what happened. No. I'll break down what happened on the 12th, next week, Saturday. I have it all queued up. You will clearly hear the president of the legislature ask for a roll call, and then Angel Bulquez make a motion, which ain't really, it's, yeah. So there's some confusion, and sometimes, and just so the people, just so you know, a legislature have a right to be wrong, and you can make mistakes in parliamentary procedures, and there's always a process to be able to fix the mistakes that you've made. So I suspect that that's what's going to happen, but we'll talk more about that because it's important that you understand how things operate and how things work. All right, so Democratic Party, though, shush. Just shush. All right, of the Virgin Islands, just shush. All right, until next week, Saturday. I don't know how to be anybody but Jamila. I happen to love being just Jamila. Until next time, bye-bye.